another episode of Tellor Dev Calls. Um, Today we have a guest who from Diva. We're going to get to him in a bit, but first we're going to do a little update on kind of where we're at on the dev side. Kind of do our normal quick dev call. For me, I was kind of out of it last week. I was at the Blockchain Oracle conference. Phenomenal conference. It was really got to meet every single person in the Oracle space. Hung out with Rick from Liquidity quite a bit. Super cool. Who else did we actually hang out with? Like, I think we hung out with like everybody, but hung out with Sasha, former API 3 a bit. We hung out with Nick from Maker.
From Metis.
Yeah. There were a bunch of awesome people there. Thomas from Whatnet. But yeah, my big takeaway kind of, like we had a bunch of meetings, like everybody hates Chainlink. Chainlink had a representative there. It's not sort of surprising to see, but they're kind of out in the lead as far as people
All
go.
the competitors of Chainlink don't like Chainlink. Wow.
Yeah, but it was like they're almost doing, like whenever Chainlink got up there and did their vision, like their vision is like they're expanding into the Web2 world. It was literally like you couldn't have had a more different presentation from like our presentation and theirs. Like ours was like how we're gonna decentralize Tellor more, and theirs was like we just partnered with Amazon and T-Mobile and how we're gonna bring more corporations into the Web2 world to run validators and be your trustworthy data sources. And it was just completely like that's the model that they're going for. It seems like they're going to try and get all their nodes to be operated by giant large corporations. And what that means, I don't know. I could honestly see them doing like a stock or something if their price falls far enough, and then just being a meme stock for a while. Like who knows? But yeah, it was clear that couldn't have been more different. And then I would say that we were definitely like, I don't know, is it safe to say we're like the number 2 Oracle out there, Owen? Like if you had to look at like a serious competitor to Chainlink to take them
down. I always feel number 1, but yeah, sure.
Yes, sure. Like as far as like who's sort of prime, a lot of the people are really early still. And just kind of they're thinking about the space and where they're at and different partnerships and stuff. It's like
in terms of like mentions in other people's talks, yeah, sure. Definitely
like UMA, it seems like they got a bunch of like UMA is a serious competitor, but they got like a bunch of other stuff going on. So I don't know, like
like every time they would come up like in talks and whatnot, it would always be like, yeah, so like we're like most people were like using Chainlink and whatnot, but like we wanted to use the decentralized Oracle as well, so we used like Tellor, and then or like that's like the one that we considered.
Or it's like like there were a few talks there where people are like, oh, let's just compare all the oracles, and it was like they just looked at like a few of them and they're like, okay, well there's Chainlink, which is a reputation based system. Then there's like these ones which are like Shelling point systems, and then there's Tellor, which is actually decentralized. And that was like, how it always went. So it felt really good. So it makes us feel like we're in a really good spot, I think.
Especially because it's been such a long time. Like we've talked about decentralization for so long, and I feel like people didn't really notice it, or they just overlooked it. Like, no, it's the same. It's an Oracle.
Yeah.
Nice to see that now they're actually.
Well, and and like another serious competitor that would be really serious if they were actually trying to get in the space would be like a Maker. But it seems like Maker is still sort of focused on their Oracle being for internal use. And then, his presentation was on a lot of like how we bring on real world assets to DAI. So they're working on, how do you be an Oracle for, bonds from a corporation, or for how do you bring on these real world assets? Like how do you put treasuries back in DAI? Super tough, but like it's like that's like not really a competitor to us. Like we say like we're not doing that. Like they're actually like signing like off-chain docs and to do this and like legal stuff, and it's like that's just not our wheelhouse, nor do I want it to be. So yeah, no, I feel like we're in a really good spot after the conference, for sure. It was super exciting. people are definitely starting to get it as far as like when they talk about Chainlink and what the actual trust model is. So yeah, I think the one thing that, you know, you sort of hear from a lot of the other oracles and things like that, it's like them as well. There's just not a whole lot of education out there about oracles and the best practices around them. So I think we're going to probably partner with some of them to like, how do we just get the word out that there are multiple oracles instead of just Chainlink? There are ways to access off-chain data. This is easy to do. Here's a bunch of different options to do it. Go compare. You know, like if that was the mindset of people going in, not, you know, like now, like a lot of times you would hear like people would just sort of assume like Chainlink has these price feeds, you use one of these price feeds, and if you're not using these price feeds, you're out of luck. You know, getting more people just aware of the whole space and how they work is, you know, how do we do that? So super exciting. Anyway, we can talk some other time on it. Won't take any longer. On the dev call, yeah, so what are you guys up to? Owen, I think you were here first.
I'm sure Vlad will talk about it more, but I've been messing around with their testnet launch and just reporting, fixing some things to help our reporters report for that. Probably need to, once I do it a few times, like go through the entire process, make a video either with Spuddy or someone else who wants to, or I can, of just like going through the entire process and whatnot. Yeah, and then the other thing is I need to make some changes for Tellor Flex based on some feedback that Tim gave. So
Yeah, I saw you had a pull request, just checking if it's ready, or I guess not.
It ain't.
Cool.
Tim. Yeah. So
awesome. On to Tim.
Yeah, so last week, Brenda and I took some time to redeploy the playground in Tellor Flex and governance and autopay to a lot of different test networks. So hopefully those deployments should get us through to Tellor 360 in a couple months. So we have, you know, the playground lets you quickly submit a lot of values without having to stake. And then Tellor Flex will be a lot more of a similar experience to what you get on Polygon or real networks. So then I'm also testing out Tellor 360, and that's its own specific contract and repo, which deals with transitioning from old Tellor to the next version.
Cool.
So I'm updating those contracts and testing them out.
Awesome. Thanks.
So
Tally.
just
Or,
a quick note with the redeployments, Spuddy, I don't know if we'll have to like point the data reporters to a different address. So we'll work that out sometime this week so we can do the change, I guess.
Is it just for the playground?
So we did Flex and the playground. So wherever we're currently reporting for testnets, we might have to switch.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Tally.
Hey, I wrote the Algorand article.
I gotta
And-
go over it today. I will.
Yeah, I need some. I think some language polishing.
So
Yeah, we also have to just probably you, me, and Brenda can sit down and we'll like actually walk through and see if it works. So
Sure.
it'll be good.
and just for background, the Algorand article is basically how to deploy Tellor yourself in Algorand without the team's help. We're here to help, but like it's basically a do-it-yourself article. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I talked with the Algo Oracle guys a lot. They're cool. They're building their Oracle on a side chain. So it'd be like they have their Oracle on a side chain, and then when you want data, they'll like push it to your thing. I don't know how decentralized it is, but they're cool. They're trying honestly to get it there. So it's good.
Algorical.
Algorical, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a few PRs on Tellor Flex as well. One is time-based rewards. One is
Yep, I was gonna, they're good.
one I have to update because I made it too complicated.
Okay, let me know when they're good.
Okay, but the other two are good.
Which ones?
So there's the init for init and governance on Tellor Flex is good. And then the time-based rewards one is good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Spuddy, anything?
Not really. I've been reporting to those new networks since Thursday last week. Optimism testnet, Harmony testnet, and it's all.
hiccups?
I think it looks pretty good. I haven't had any trouble with it.
Cool. All right, Akram last.
How's it going? Added more tests to the autopay, the keeper network, pushed it. I think it's ready for review. I was thinking about adding one more test, but
Okay, we'll just pull it off of draft mode and I'll review it.
oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. I'll do that. And then after that, maybe look into doing some Telliot stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and then we'll give you one of the other contracts to review as well. So
Okay.
awesome. Ryan, Mike, anything from you guys in? Want to do? This is a dev
Happy to
call.
be here on the
so-
dev call.
Well, Ryan's been killing it lately. You made like a pull request into data specs last week. He's just like he's using that git command line left and right. This is very nice. No, thank you. I mean, have going over that. When's the are you guys still working on that docs update?
Yeah, it's our welcome page that we drafted up is done. We just need to. I uploaded it into a new branch of the Tellor docs through Gitbook, and so I just need you guys just. I'm going to give everybody admin access. You can log in and make the changes you want, and merge them at will, and then you can just pass it back to us, and we'll
So
add
it's-
emojis.
So it's so it's on the dev side now, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to take a few moments to just add some links that
Okay.
I never did, but it'll be on to you guys today.
Perfect.
All
And-
right. Brenda, anything? Are you good?
Yeah. Tim gave my update. We spent quite a lot of time on that, but they look pretty. The addresses look very they're pretty much the same on most networks, so it looks very nice. It was a good deployment time. Anyway, do we want to go with Diva now?
Yeah, no, it's Diva time.
We're waiting for.
Guys, we have a phenomenal guest with us today who we've had the chance of getting to know over the past few months. Would you like to introduce yourself, Vlad, and your project?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for having me in this call and giving us the opportunity to introduce what we are building. And yeah, so my name is Vlad. I'm the co-founder of DIVA Protocol. It's a protocol to create and settle fully customizable derivative products. I will explain what derivatives are in a sec. And yeah, so we started building it, I don't know, 1.5 years ago, and fully focused on building that maybe over the last couple of months. And now we have just launched the testnet yesterday, so we'll also spend a few words on that at the end of the presentation. And yeah, what else? My background is in mathematics and finance, so I'm mostly doing Solidity programming and project management in DIVA Protocol, and yeah, supported by a great team that are contributing on all ends where help is needed. So
Nice. Yeah, I mean, so I think most people here, or probably that are watching this, will be semi-familiar with like derivatives.
yeah,
But basically, you know, like what would be an example? Like which ones are you going to launch with, I guess, right out the door?
which derivatives?
Yeah.
If you allow to share me my screen, then I can briefly. I prepared a few slides, so just to make it a little bit simpler for for the listeners. You see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think the term derivative that might be a little bit intimidating for some people, but is like essentially it's pretty simple. So a derivative has basically two ingredients. It has an event, and then you have a payout that is linked to the outcome of event. So the simplest example is a sports bet, right? So you can, if you bet on team A, if it wins, you get a payout of 1. If it loses, you get nothing. And yeah, now you can generalize that idea. So instead of a sports event, you can take, say, the Bitcoin price or anything else, right? Or some insurance event, say the house burns down, yes or no. So you can choose whatever event you want. And then on the payoff side, you can also, instead of using a binary one, so 0 or 1, all or nothing payoff, you can maybe choose something that is more linear in a certain range. And yeah, so that's kind of like the basic idea of what a derivative is. I mean, in traditional finance, there's a lot of terminology that is used among professionals, but I feel like that's probably the best explanation for people that just get started. And yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I can just ask you the easy question. So like, where does the Oracle fit in here? And
yeah, exactly. I wanted to comment to that. So I wanted to briefly explain how DIVA Protocol works, how it allows to create these type of structures, and then basically where the Oracle comes into play. And briefly explain that. So basically how DIVA Protocol works is you deposit an asset, collateral, into a smart contract, and in return, you get the claim that is represented by two directionally reversed payoffs, basically, or legs. So you have a short and a long. So if you sum them up, you always get 1. So basically, if you deposit, say, 100 USDC, you get the long and the short side. So if you want to take out the 100 USDC from the pool, you just give both the long and the short side back, and you get your USDC back. Now, I mean, it wouldn't be fun if you do that, right? So what people want to do is they deposit 100 USDC, they get the short and the long side, and then they want to sell one side in order to gain either exposure to the upside or to the downside. And that's basically what DIVA Protocol is doing. Now here you have like a linear shape, right? But you can think of any other shape, binary or combination of binary linear. And in DIVA, we have 4 parameters, which are called floor, inflection, cap, and gradient, which basically allow users to slice and dice these payoff patterns. And I will demo that in a sec. To come back to Nick's question, where the Oracle comes in. Now, let's say you create a derivative on the Bitcoin price, right? On the Bitcoin price at the end of the year, for instance. So these positions, they need one input from an Oracle. So someone needs to report what is the BTC value end of the year. So once we get there. And yeah, and I mean, for DIVA Protocol to function, this Oracle part is extremely critical. So if this Oracle part doesn't work, so if, I don't know, the Oracle sends unreliable information and the payoffs for the short and long positions turn out to be wrong, users will lose confidence and will no longer use the protocol. So that's why like the Oracle is really the key part. And yeah, we are super excited to work with Tellor on a solution that will actually provide the highest guarantee or give users the highest confidence that the values that are reported are actually accurate. And yeah, so that's kind of like how this DIVA protocol works. And yeah, here maybe just a few few examples what kind of payoff shapes you can produce just by moving these 4 parameters. So that's on the long side. On the short side, it's basically just mirrored. I can also briefly show you how this looks like in the app. And yeah, as a reference asset, it's also, we don't limit users to any specific assets. They can literally use anything. So it's sort of like a standard to create these derivative assets, and users can use anything they want to bet on or they want to create insurance on. So it can be like market prices of assets, but you can also create more exotic structures where you use, for instance, the ETH gas prices, the underlying, and use that to hedge yourself against rising gas prices. Or you can use the TVL in DeFi as the underlying. And yeah, so with this flexibility, you also need a good oracle that is able and flexible enough to provide all these inputs when users need them. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I have to ask you, like, you know,
yes,
why didn't you use Chainlink? Like, maybe I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah,
Maybe you have
yeah.
3 slides ready at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I mean, it's a very good question. So we actually started looking into Chainlink, and the problem that we had with Chainlink was that it was incredibly difficult to get historical prices. So to get a historical price feed for these derivative assets. So in DIVA Protocol, when the pool expires, so these assets expire, the reporter or the data provider or the oracle has 24 hours to report the value as of the expiration date. And what we figured, in Chainlink, they have this concept of rounds, and it was incredibly difficult to translate it into timestamps, which the expiry dates are denominated in. And yeah, we basically gave up on that. And yeah, we're looking for a solution that was flexible enough to do that. And what we learned during that process was that a lot of oracles actually focus on providing real-time data, so the current value. And that makes a lot of sense where liquidations need to be done, right? So they rely on the most recent values, and I think that's where a lot of oracles focus on. But for prediction markets, there were not so many solutions out there that could offer something out of the box. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, well, I would hardly say that your solution was sort of out of the box.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not. No, but something like I meant solutions
Capable.
out of the box, exactly, that would report historical prices. So if you send a request, that's what I meant with out of the box.
Sorry, don't interrupt.
Yeah. So maybe I can spend. Let me maybe first show you what I just told, how it looks in the app, and then I will spend a few words on the Tellor Oracle integration, how we envisage this to be or to look like when we eventually launch the app on testnet. So this is some insight into our app where users can create derivative products. So here, for instance, I have a product on the USD price of Bitcoin, right? We have a few suggestions here, but theoretically, anyone can just, I don't know, tier B USD, define any other references. They don't need to stick with what we're proposing here. And then you also define at which point in time do you want to observe that metric, say, I don't know, end of July. So this part defines your event. You have a metric and you have the point in time at which you want to observe that. And here at the bottom, you define the payoff shape. So you as a user, you can say how the payoff should look like, as opposed to many other prediction markets, you might know Augur, Polymarket, they typically only offer binary payoffs. But for instance, for myself, I don't like binary because I don't know, just doesn't fit into my risk appetite. So I would probably go with something linear. But binary is also possible. It's just one special case. So you can, basically create any binary option, or you can go more crazy and create something very specific for your particular use case, something like a combination between a linear and binary. So now,
is there sort of
if
a
you have-
max leverage you can get on it?
well, the max leverage is basically the binary, right?
Okay.
Exactly. So you can, you can control the leverage if you choose a very tight range. So here you're tracking Bitcoin in the range 20 to 21K. So it's kind of like a high leverage product. So when you define this derivative product, then in a second step, now you basically, or the user needs to say, okay, who is supposed to report the final value when this pool expires or these assets expire. And I mean, right now for the testnet, we're just running like a test bot, but the ultimate goal is when we launch on mainnet later this year to have Tellor as the kind of like as the first integration on the Oracle side in this DIVA app. So basically you have these two steps where you define the pool, the Oracle, and then you actually create these assets, and then they will end up in your wallet as two separate positions. I'll quickly show you. It's loading. So for DEX. So basically you have the BTC, USD, the long and the short side, and then you would basically trade one side out to obtain exposure to one of the sides. So that's kind of like a high level overview.
Sure. And when you trade them, do you guys have like a built-in AMM or something, or do you guys just use an order book, or do you guys run that, or do you guys not even run that?
Yeah, exactly. So we are leveraging 0x protocol for that.
Cool.
So actually this app that you see is the first app that is built on top of DIVA Protocol. But in addition to DIVA Protocol, which is responsible for creating these assets and kind of like determining the payoffs when they settle, we also leverage 0x protocol for the trading part, so people to facilitate the exchange. And then when we go live, we will also use Tellor Oracle. So basically this app that you find here is a combination of 3 protocols to offer users maximally decentralized solution. So none of the data that you see here is stored on any server. Sorry, I have to correct myself. We actually have 4 protocols. We also use the graph protocol. So all the data is indexed. So this DIVA app that you see here is a combination of 4 protocols actually working together.
Super cool.
Yeah, and maybe I can spend also a few words on the solution that we're building and why we went with Tellor Oracle in the end, and why it's like much better than, say, like a centralized approach. So maybe I highlight the drawbacks of a centralized approach in our case, right? Say you have this Oracle that I just showed, this central Oracle, DIVOR. So now the problem with a central Oracle, you have a single point of failure. What if this Oracle, or what if the bot that is running on a server goes down, right? And the user doesn't notice that. Or what if there are a lot of pools that needs reporting? So this one single bot is basically queuing all the reporting. So there could be an event where there are too many pools that needs to be reported, and he just cannot make it. So a central centralized bot is certainly not a good solution, or not a robust solution for DIVA protocol to function properly. The nice thing about Tellor protocol is that basically anyone can report to report the value, right? So you don't have the single point of failure anymore. So reporters will see, okay, this pool needs reporting. They need the Bitcoin price as of the end of the year, for instance, right? And everyone can submit. So if one bot goes down, there are several other ones that have the possibility to submit a value and earn a fee. So from that perspective, it's much more stable, and you also don't have this queuing problem that you would have when you use a decentralized option. So yeah, overall, I think Tellor, yeah, is just a really great fit on the Oracle side for this DIVA protocol. And yeah, but as Nick said, the integration was not out of the box. So it was not super straightforward. And this has to do a little bit with the fee mechanics. So how DIVA protocol works is when an address gets selected as the data provider for a derivative, they are entitled for a 5 BIP fee based on the total TVL inside this pool. So I don't know if there is like 10K USDC locked in this pool to generate these short and long positions, then the reporter would get, what is it? Oh, bad math. Was this $5 to report the value? Now you could imagine a case where, I don't know, there is 1 million or 10 million pool, and the fee to the reporter would actually be, I don't know, 500 or even higher dollars for just reporting one single value. And the challenge was that this could actually trigger like a wave of disputes on the Tellor dispute or in the Tellor mechanism, right? If reporters know, oh, there's a reward, or there's a possibility or chance to get like $5,000 to report a value, and you see someone already reported before you, and this guy might be eligible, right? You might start disputing each other, yeah, which may have like undesired consequences or delays. So that was a little bit a challenge, and we were thinking how to solve that part. And the solution that we came up with is that we cap the fees that go to the reporter at $10 for now. I mean, this is like an input we can agree on and also change over time. But let's say $10, and everything in excess will be sent to the Tellor treasury. So that's kind of like the current setup. And yeah, so the consequence of this logic is it's no longer sufficient simply submitting the value of the reference asset at expiration. So let's say the Bitcoin price end of year. But the report is also supposed to report the value of the collateral that is used. So I mean, in the simplest case, people will just use USDC as the collateral. So you just report one. But what if someone wants to use ETH as collateral, right? Then, yeah, you basically need this additional piece of information in order to determine how much is going to the reporter and how much is going to this access fee recipient, which is the Tellor treasury. So that was a pretty tricky part. And yeah, also big thanks to the Tellor team, Owen and Tim, especially, who help us yeah, to basically build a reporter for that particular.
Does that make sense to everyone here? Or like, sort of? I can explain it further if you guys want. Yeah, so I think like the basic thing is like if you were willing, let's say there was a diva, which of course is going to happen, they're going to get enormous, and they're going to have like $1 billion pool over on diva. And what's 5 pips on $1 billion pool? Like 500K or something like that. Let's say, let's say you're going to pay, or even 50,000. Let's say you're going to pay 50,000 to the next, whoever reports this Tellor value gets $50,000. Well, it actually creates a really bad incentive because so like, let's say Spuddy throws it up. Hell yeah, he's getting 50,000. I would actually want to dispute Spuddy and then submit, because I can dispute him for like $1,000 and then put my value up. And that's, even though his value was good, it leads to like weird incentives whenever the fee is so crazy, unnecessarily high. So that's why if Diva got too successful that their fees to the Oracle were unnecessarily high, you would, actually create like an issue in the Tellor system, as far as like, it doesn't actually break anything in the Tellor system. Like no matter what, we're still putting good values up on chain. It's just like miners aren't acting, and there's like, A, we want to like save people money, and you should, and then B, like you don't want this game to happen. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Thanks a lot for explaining this.
Okay.
From
Okay, can I
end.
ask you some? We'll ask you a few questions more.
Yes.
Sound good? So I just have to ask. So derivatives and prediction markets have sort of been done in the past. What makes Diva? What's going to make Diva win?
Well, like in Diva prediction markets, as you know them, it's just one special case. As I mentioned, most prediction markets only offer you this this binary type of payoff all or nothing, which might not be a good fit for a lot of users. So Diva actually allows to adjust the payoff structure to your risk appetite. For instance, what you see a lot in traditional finance, especially in the structured products business, are the following types of payoff patterns. So it's like these combinations of binary and linear, right? So this is something that does not yet exist, and we at Diva can offer that and fill this gap. And also we don't impose any reference assets that you can use. We don't impose any collateral asset that you can use, and we don't impose any oracle that you can use. So we are working on integrating Tellor Oracle and propose them to users, but technically users can choose whatever they want. So it's super flexible. It's like the Uniswap for derivatives. You can create derivatives on whatever you want, including insurance products and as you said, mentioned prediction markets. And we'll just see what people come up with. And that's one part. So the flexibility, and also the other part is probably also our strategy. So how we want to grow Diva. So I think what you see with the existing prediction markets, they're more or less silos. So they build their application on top of their smart contracts, and they expect all users to use their application, like Polymarket, for instance. While our approach is more, okay, here you have the smart contracts. It's the engine to create these type of derivative products, build great front ends on top. So this Diva app that you find here, this is just the first implementation of an app, right? But you can build so many different things. Maybe you want to build an insurance platform on top with a focus on DeFi hack insurance, for instance, right? So also like the different types of strategies, I think that's what differentiates us from our competitors.
Cool. Awesome. Owen, how was integrating Diva? Owen and Tim.
It's good. We've had like calls every week with Vlad, and it's been great working with him. And I'm excited to get our reporters trying it out. Hopefully some people in our community will be excited to do that and whatnot. So
cool.
yeah, I think we have now enough time also for testing that properly. I think that's important.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you so much for being a protocol that tries to properly test
Yes.
everything. You know, it's gonna make a difference in the long run for sure. You know, I know you've taken a long time to launch, but it's like definitely for anyone in your community, it's so worth it, and it's refreshing from like an Oracle perspective to have somebody who actually wants to think through these things so hard. So it's awesome. Yeah, anybody else have anything for Vlad? No.
Maybe
Just
one-
let us know, let the audience know like where they can get involved, how they can find out more information about your incentivized
Yes.
testnet, where to find you.
Yes, exactly. Thanks a lot. So, as I mentioned during my presentation, we have launched testnet recently. So where users can earn a claim on the future DIVA token that will launch and thereby become governors of the DIVA protocol in the future. So basically how this works, so if you access the app diva.finance, you will see a few tasks that users are asked to complete. All are related to discovering the functionality of the DIVA app. So basically, you as a user, you get familiar with the DIVA app, and we will benefit from the feedback that we'll receive. So that's kind of like the setup. And yeah, so check that out. Every item here is linked to our docs, and it's also described how to create, say, binary options or options with a linear type of payout. And yeah, also here again, what are derivatives, basically what I just described. Also again in our documentation, what is DIVA protocol, what is DIVA app. So you find a lot of information in docs.divaprotocol.io. And yeah, if you want to read our testnet announcement, that's on our divaprotocol.io page. So right now it's more like a landing page. So you have basically everything you can access via this page. So you can access the app here by pressing this button. You can access the Git book here, and you can also read our testnet announcement, where you basically find all the details how to participate in the testnet.
Nice.
Super cool. Thanks. Yeah, we can't wait for you guys to launch, and I'm sure people in our community will hear from you more. So,
cool. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We shall talk to you guys all yeah, soon. See you.